Thank you.
That'd be fun. Before, just to record the audience for the next bit.
I don't much better.
Just put your thumb.
Because it takes too long. Oh, thank you.
Just put it close on the seat or something.
Share very nicely.
Thank you.
Like on the heavenly planets.
Oh,
Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma Shri Guru
Mr. Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaur Premananda. So, I guess we have a little kirtan with the guitar. That's all right. I gotta tune this thing first. Oh, thank you. Oh, you sprinkled water from me on my head. That's nice, I got my mercy. Always wanted that. Interesting, isn't it? Interesting you get the water from your aunties. What's that?
Get the dust from your own feet.
Yeah. Why not? You gotta take the mercy wherever it is. What's that? Yeah, I'll put it in there. Just give it a minute. Okay. Where is the? You gotta adjust the volume of it. Srinananda? This is an interesting microphone.
Thank you, Rita. Hang on, I called.
You know, really interesting. Bati, good to see you. Good to see you again. Remember the old days when we went around Govardhan? That was fun. That's when I used to be a devotee. So, did it work? It's receiving the signal. You got to turn up the main volume.
Yeah.
Ready, go.
Ready, go.
Okay, now adjust the volume where on the guitar, but not that one. That one. Yeah.
You can get everything.
Higher. No, just that one. Is it all maximum? Wow. Let's see. So we have the wild kirtan first or in the end?
Always.
Always?
Always before I
You went the wild one first.
What are the other options?
Okay. All right, then we got this. Let's see, strap for that one. One.
Pardon. Put it on the seat, on the put it on his armrest. I just at the back. Otherwise it's like you stand there. Leaning into the roll.
You gotta have fun. Life is too short to be miserable. Okay. I'll probably knock that one off.
Maybe up the
It's
top.
not a good
Padma?
idea.
Yeah, up the top, yeah.
I do.
I'll probably knock that one off too.
It's not
And
wild,
that
it's
not
fun,
reach
too.
it.
Actually, we'll stand up for a while. Are you still hanging?
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah.
Everyone should, yeah, everyone should, not just me, you get to clap. No cartel.
We'll get there.
Cartels don't. Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Because you're all tired. I'm not tired. He wants to sit down. Whatever you like. All right, we'll sit down since you're tired. Do all the other stuff. There's one more. It's better it's out like that, so the guitar
It's an underscore.
I'll end with a prayer to Lord Machine. Tune again. Krishna consciousness is supposed to be fun, right? If it's not fun, you're doing something wrong. Prabhupada said it's the business of the leaders of the Krishna conscious movement to make sure that everyone is jolly and eating enough. Well, eating enough already goes on. Some people are eating too much because they're not jolly. Namaste Narasingaya Namaste Narasingaya Allah Dayane Hiranyakashi Purnakshaha Silatanka Nakalaye deity worship minister looking at us like, we're in trouble. This will be reported to the GBC. You can turn down the volume for that. That's good. Put the cushion under the guitar so it's that's good. Okay. Now you can turn up the volume for this
Turn up.
and down the volume for the
It's already down there.
up. Alright. Hare Krishna. The main volume.
Yeah, it's up.
And then the volume for the microphone is a separate volume. The wireless. There's a volume control for the microphone. Hey Krishna. Alright. Anyway, everyone can hear me without it. It's okay. So, I guess I'm supposed to say a few words, right? Okay, a few words. I just said a few words. Anyway, so does anyone have any topic they'd like me to speak about? Yeah.
The importance of devotee association.
First of all, we have to figure out who's a devotee. So, yes. Actually, I was thinking about that this morning. That's the very same topic. When I walked into the temple room this morning. When I walked into the temple room this morning, I was feeling so grateful. I mean, it's actually just to reveal my heart, my mind. I was overwhelmed with a feeling of gratefulness. Wow, I am being allowed to come into this temple, see these beautiful deities, be with these nice devotees. Wow. So that's the first point. To be grateful to having this sort of association, because the association of devotees during the Brahma Manasa Janma is actually very rare in this material world. It's not going to be that everybody's going to be a Hare Krishna devotee, or even a devotee of other religions. Most people are devotees, well, of their tongue, or belly, or whatever. But, and I understand we're all aspiring devotees, because the word devotee means someone who is devoted. Don't worry about it. Everyone can hear me, right?
Yes.
No one's ever accused me of having a soft voice. So a devotee means someone who is devoted, according to Rupa Goswami, someone who simply wants to please the Supreme Person. Yabi Lashita Shunyam Yanakam Navritam Anukulyena Krishna Vishilanam Bhaktuman. But we're all on the right track. And therefore I appreciate everyone's association. So the importance of devotee association is basically to remind us several different things, to remind us of who we are and what we're trying to do. Secondly, to correct us if we're doing something wrong. And perhaps even more importantly, is to give us a role model. And we were talking this morning a little bit about role models, because most people function on the basis of who or what is their role model. And of course, that I mentioned this morning that Srila Prabhupada is my role model, and how Prabhupada manifests fully the symptoms of pure devotional service. So what are the symptoms of pure devotional service? Many of us are looking for like someone who has like effulgence, like 10,000 watts or something like that. Effulgence. But let's go to this verse of Rupa Goswami, Anyabi Lashita Shunyam Yanakamana. No, not even that verse. Let's go. Vasudevi Bhagavati Bhakti Yogi. No, not that verse. Okay. What? It's working. Give me the microphone.
The Ahituki verse.
What?
The Ahituki verse.
No. Verse. Oh yeah. Haitukiya Pratyata. Vaipum Sam Parodharmo. Yato Bhakti and Hoksajay. Haitukiya Pratyata Yatma Superseded Take. That's the verse. that that devotional service that satisfies the self is described. Okay. Usually with these things, it's good to have it the stand right in the middle, because there's actually something called, balancing, leverage.
Maybe I can't
Yeah.
wait here.
Well, yeah. Usually the stand in the middle makes a lot more sense.
Can I reach you though?
It will. It'll stay put there. So we don't want to lose our teeth at the same time. So vai pumsam parodam ayato bhakti hoksa jay haitaki pratita supersedity. That really pure devotional service is haitaki pratita. That means there's no cause, hetu, and apratiyata, there's nothing that stops it under any circumstance. So if we look at Prabhupada's devotional service, and how he manifested that more than any one of his godbrothers, because many of his godbrothers, we talked about this the other night, not here, but many of his godbrothers got the same instruction that Srila Prabhupada got, which was to preach in English and preach in the Western world. And actually that was the last instruction Prabhupada got, and the first instruction. You understand? The first instruction Prabhupada got was in Calcutta on a rooftop, where Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was giving a lecture, and he said, "You're all educated young men, you should preach Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's message." And Prabhupada sort of argued with him in the beginning. Prabhupada wasn't a blind follower, he argued with his guru, because before he was his guru. And he said, who will listen to your Chaitanya's message? Well, India is still a captive country. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur defeated that particular argument. And Prabhupada in his heart accepted Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur as his guru from that point forward, although it took him 11 years before he took initiation. And then the final instruction was in a letter, pretty much saying the same thing that Prabhupada got right before Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur left the planet. So Prabhupada accepted that letter as his life and soul, so there was no material cause to Prabhupada's coming to the Western world. In other words, there wasn't money there, there weren't followers, there was no material reason for Prabhupada to come. Yet, there was the order of his spiritual master, so that's a hetu, or a haituku, no cause. Just like everything we do as a cause, like I came here because I wanted to eat the prasadam. And I'm looking at ending the class because I want to, and I'm hungry. So there's a cause why we're going to keep the class so short. So it's a cause for everything that we do, isn't it? And even we talked about this the other day, that Krishna, of course, is sarva karna karanam. He's the cause of all causes. So if you try to ask why Krishna does something, it's like, because he wants to. Why does he want to? Well, maybe when he was young, his parents treated him a certain way, and he has a certain type of psychology. I mean, we have our psychology. We were talking about this today, Shami Mahdi, that our psychology is based upon what happened to us when we're young, to a large extent. And usually what you see is what you get, or what you had is what you still have. And you gotta deal with it somehow or other, somehow to cope with it, or try to purify it, or something like that. So there's a cause. You know, why you like it? You know, standard Freudian psychology, you would sit someone down and said, you know, what was your childhood like? Do you have an Oedipus complex? Or he got a little bit too crazy with that stuff, because he had all these complexes too. So the people with the most complexes make the best psychiatrists. Yeah, that's what we were talking about. They become psychiatrists or psychologists. So there's a cause. You know, why do I like a certain type of food? It's like I go to Fiji, and the devotees are eating food that's killing them. Many places devotees are reading cause further still. And generally because we want to send the devotees back to Godhead as soon as possible. That's our motto in the Krishna conscious movement. Health, Prasadam is healthy no matter whether it's fried or sugar or whatever, it's always healthy for it. So, but anyway, people get in certain habits. So I tell the devotees they're eating this. They're eating this prasadam for breakfast that their ancestors used to eat because their ancestors worked in the sugarcane fields. And the ancestors would go out and cut sugarcane at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the morning. So you need a really heavy breakfast. So they're still eating the same thing because that's what they're conditioned to do. So there's a conditioning there. And there's a cause for what they're doing. But when you take Krishna, there's no cause. No cause for his psychology. Why does he like to play a flute? Because mother trained him up, gave him flute lessons when he was young? No. Because he likes it. He likes it, right? That's the only reason Krishna does anything, because he likes it. Why does Krishna come down to the material world? Yeah, we can say Prachanaya Sadhanam Vinashaya Chadushkritam, which means to annihilate the miscreants, establish religious principles, protect the devotees. Yes, that's external. But the real reason he comes down is to have fun. Krishna's a fun God. You can say he does all these things, but the internal reason is always to have fun. Why does Lord Chaitanya appear? Yes, I understand, to spread the Krishna conscious movement and all that other nice stuff and give us all the Harinam. That's true. But internally, his real reason, his internal most important reason is what? To have fun. You have to experience the fun that it is to be his own devotee. Because Krishna sees his devotees having so much fun, and he thinks, I want to have that fun too. I want to have the same fun Radharani is having. And so he appears in that way. He wants to understand. I understand the other purposes. He wants to understand Radharani, see himself from Radharani's perspective, and experience Vipralamba Seva, which is the most ecstatic mood. We look at Vipralamba, and we think how miserable that is to be separated. But we're just projecting our own material concepts upon the realm of the absolute, right? But it's actually the highest ecstasy. Yugayatam nimishena chakshusha pravashaitam shuyayatam jagatsaram. Govinda Vidahena is the highest ecstasy. Because when you're feeling separation from Krishna, Krishna's closer to you. And in the material world, you can feel separation from someone, but they're not there. And even when you're in the same place, they're not there. Because you're not the body. You'll be holding hands with someone, with your beloved. But are you actually holding the hand of anyone? It's two machines. Sorry, sannyas class. I always revert back to my training in Krishna consciousness. So two machines. I'll get away from it in a second. Two machines just holding each other's. But is there actually a connection? Not on that basis. Not on that. There's other connection. But Krishna, with Krishna, the remembrance, the chanting of his names, the serving, like we mentioned this morning in class, that verse, Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavir, etc. The serving Krishna, we're with Krishna. If you're meditating on serving Krishna, then it's like chanting the holy names. If you're planning out how to spread the Krishna conscious movement, meditating on serving Krishna, reading the philosophy, hearing the philosophy, giving the fruits of your work to Krishna, and thinking of why you're doing, what you're doing, it's like chanting. It doesn't substitute for chanting, but it's like chanting. It has the same spiritual potency. So that's the non-different nature of Krishna, Krishna's service, Krishna's name. And so Krishna's enjoying from that perspective when he takes the position of Srimati Radharani. So the main thing is, Krishna, there's no cause to anything that Krishna does, no material cause to anything Krishna does or says. It's just, his psychology is really easy. So you take him to the psychologist. Why do you do everything? I do everything I like. Well, what if you have to do something you don't like? It's not possible. Because, why is it? Because I'm aptakama. That means I get whatever I want whenever I want it. Isn't it? That's Krishna. That's a description of Krishna. He's aptakama. And therefore he's swarat. You're independent. Aptakama. All those energies are first-class servants. Right? First-class servant does what the master wants without being asked. Wow. Second class does what the master wants and he's happy to do it. Third class does what the master wants and he's unhappy to do it. 10th class does what the master wants, doesn't do what the master wants, and he's blissful not doing what the master wants. So Krishna's energies are all first class. That's really great. And so just, whatever he wants. Oh, demon killed? Okay, no problem. Is it create the material world? Oh, I can do that while I'm sleeping. And Krishna does it while he's sleeping, right? Mahavishnu. The material world gets created. We're all in his dream. And then when he breathes in, we're in trouble. The whole thing's finished. So you hope he has deep breaths. Because they do last for quite a bit of time. So that's Krishna. So Krishna's devotees, the only cause is their just desire to please Krishna and Guru. So you see, Srila Prabhupada, there's no material cause for doing what he did. It's amazing. And even more impressive is what, a Pratyata, that Prabhupada was not deterred under any circumstances. We also spoke about this last night. That Prabhupada in the boat coming over had 2 heart attacks. I don't know if anyone here ever experienced a heart attack. No, I never had it. I experienced a kidney stone attack. And I wasn't ready to go out and preach. I was ready to, Krishna saved me. I'll behave myself. If you take this pain away, I will be a good boy from now on. I made so many promises, which hopefully I'm keeping. So, but probably, anyway, I know people have had a heart attack. You have to recuperate for quite a long period of time. Put you in the hospital, Prabhupada's in the boat, and after being the boat ride, 2 heart attacks, he just steps off the boat like a soldier. I mean, it reminds me actually of the Mahabharata war where Grandfather Bhishma was being filled with arrows. And he kept marching at Arjuna. The arrows kept filling his body. And you can imagine, it's described there wasn't even a space of a finger between the arrows in his body. Arjuna didn't fire at his head, but everywhere else, basically. And he kept marching, and finally Arjuna had to just fire so many arrows and knock him over backwards. That's determination, isn't it? A.K.A. Kurunandana. So Prabhupada was so determined, he marched off the boat, went immediately to Butler, Pennsylvania, and was preaching. Didn't ask for any sympathy, right? Didn't say, I had 2 heart attacks. Oh, Kishori. How'd you get here? Daji. Daji's here. Oh, Daji Maharaj. He's not a sannyasi, but I always call him Daji Maharaj. That's Lord Balaram. So, wow. And so, Haitaki Pratyata, so many other instances you can think of Prabhupada's just unstoppable determination. And then at Prabhupada's final days, leaving the body, dictating his Bhaktivedanta purports in such a condition like that, when most of us all of us would be writhing in pain. And so this is the proof that Prabhupada's a pure devotee. I mean, you ask for proof. I mean, it's not, the proof is not that, he when I looked at him, I knew he was looking in my heart. People have all these, maybe he was. But that, you hear all the Prabhupada's memories like that. And maybe he was looking at your heart. I'm not saying he wasn't. But that's a subjective thing. But objectively, we have the Vaishnava qualities, and Prabhupada had those qualities. So when I hear about those things, that's my inspiration in Krishna consciousness, hearing about Prabhupada. So that's why I recommend that devotees read regularly the pastimes of Prabhupada and also hear regularly the memories. One thing I do when I'm home is when I'm taking prasadam, I listen to Prabhupada memories by the devotees. And it's so inspiring. It's so inspiring. And that's what keeps me going in Krishna consciousness. And it makes me feel so grateful. I thank Prabhupada every day for allowing me to be part of this movement and associated with the devotees. So, and that's the importance of associating with. They inspire us. You know, I see, you know, even my own disciples, they inspire me, the ones that are determined, the ones, some of them perspire me. That's another issue. Source of perspiration, not of inspiration, yeah. But I said, oh my God, he did that. So, but anyway, you know, so it's all inspiring, isn't it? And I mean, like I mentioned, I looked at the deities this morning, and I was so inspired just to see how beautiful the deities were and how nice the grounds were here. It's just like, wow. Why has Krishna given me all this mercy? That's how we should feel. Grateful. Continually grateful and associated. So, who else has a question? Right, Velocity.
Would you mind telling us about the first time you met Srila Prabhupada?
Yeah, that's one of my subjective experiences. That I was avoiding the Hare Krishna movement for years because of the association devotees. No, because devotees were very new and young, and so they would preach very strongly. I heard all about the Yamadutas before I heard about chanting the holy names. I heard about the symptoms of Kali Yuga. I remember one of my godbrothers, really dear godbrother of mine, Amarendra Prabhu, some of you may know him or not know him. He's a lawyer, and he was a student radical before he joined the Krishna consciousness movement. That means he used to go and burn buildings at the university because they were protesting the war. So I'm just trying to give you an idea of the mood he had. So he transferred that to Krishna consciousness. So he was giving a class about the symptoms of Kali Yuga, and he's talking about the jackals vomiting fire, and you know, all these different symptoms. And he looked straight at me. He said, "Look, you better join the movement quickly." And I said, "Forget it." You know, it's bad enough in Christianity to hear you're going to hell, but this is worse. You hear descriptions of hell in the Hare Krishna movement, which is worse. Christianity, at least it's some vague thing, you know. You know, maybe it's nice, maybe it's a little warmer. Like that. So I was chanting, I was doing everything in Krishna consciousness, you know, besides associating with the devotees. And then I was informed, this shows how Krishna, Brahmanda Brahmate Konda Bhagwan Jiv Ku Krishna Prasadi Bhakti Lakshmi. And many devotees have similar stories. How Krishna really makes the arrangements to give you associations. So I was informed that Srila Prabhupada was coming to the same little village that I was in, which is Gainesville, Florida, in 1971. And so Prabhupada coming, it was so powerful and potent that even a week before Prabhupada came, I became hypnotized, spiritually hypnotized. It was just 1 week. You know, it wasn't Prabhupada, even his direct physical presence at that point. His 1 week was just like, Prabhupada's coming, somehow or other. Because I had heard Prabhupada before, I listened to his chanting on the radio and all those other things. And so I just like, in a daze, walked to the temple. He said, I want to join. And the temple president was Sri Dandan Maharaj at that time, so you may know him. And he said, well, first you got to take that fuzz off your body. You know, the hair fuzz and the beard fuzz. And I said, yes. I mean, I don't know how I said yes. that's things that were most dear to me in this world, hair. So I did it, and actually my friends tried to prevent me. They actually held me back, literally. They said, "You can't go, you have too much karma to work out." I said, "Prabhupada's coming. Yeah, even Prabhupada's name is potent like that. Like that, just to divert to another story for a second. Just like that one story that Indradyumna Maharaj tells about that devotee Pigsty. Pigpen. You heard the story of Pigpen? Oh my God. And all he could say was, "Prabhupada save me, Prabhupada save me, Prabhupada save me." And he became such a great devotee. And I actually was friendly with him later on. His name was Rasada. And he left his body due to cancer about, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. He was in New Orleans distributing books. So anyways, just the idea of Prabhupada was potent. What to speak of meeting Prabhupada, what to speak of hearing from Prabhupada. So then, I went to the temple, and then a week later, we were very fanatic in those days, so we wanted to get flowers for Srila Prabhupada. So the place where you get lotus flowers was in this lake called Lake Alice, which was filled with alligators, sorry. They're little crocodiles. And so we went swimming there. And you see the little snouts of these little creatures, the noses sticking up. And they said, "It's for Prabhupada." Spiritual. Krishna will protect us. Well, doesn't always do that. If you act foolishly, Krishna doesn't always protect you. So, anyway, we got these lotus flowers. Prabhupada comes to the temple, and we're showering flowers from the second. This happened many times. We're showering flowers from the second story. And it's like the flowers coming from the heavenly planets. And Prabhupada walks in. I mean, as soon as I saw Prabhupada, remember, just a week in the movement, I had this recognition that he's my eternal spiritual master. And also I experienced, this is objective, I said. I'm not talking about subjective now. I experienced that here was someone who had so much love for me and for everybody that it was causeless. We're talking about apratiyata haituki. That Prabhupada's love was not based on any material considerations. Not that I was related to him, or he needed me, or I was rich and he wanted my money. Prabhupada, I could see, I could feel, I could experience that Srila Prabhupada was just like overflowing with compassion, like we say about Vaishnavas, Kripa Sindhu, Bhavacha. Really, ocean. He was and is like an ocean. Anyone who's met Prabhupada will relate that same experience, isn't it? That it's just like, wow, it's just like it's like a big waves, one of these big waves just washing you out to sea. That's how I can explain the experience. It's like, wow. And then I just decided to surrender my life to Srila Prabhupada just by being a physical presence. The physical presence of a devotee on the caliber of Srila Prabhupada is so powerful. And I just remember everything about that visit. Prabhupada walked in the temple, he offered his obeisance, and of course, that happens all the time. And we had a temple with Panchatattva on the altar. A Panchatattva picture. That time there weren't deities, at least in that part of the world. New York had deities. And San Francisco had deities. And so Prabhupada offered obeisances to the picture of Panchatattva with such devotion, sat down to give a class, and we went with Srila Prabhupada to some preaching engagements. It was just a small amount of devotees with Prabhupada. And TV station, I remember just taking pictures of Prabhupada and Prabhupada giving a lecture. Prabhupada gave a lecture at the University of Florida in Gainesville. And Prabhupada was speaking at this lecture about something that was inconceivable to me. He was talking about the Purusha avatars. He said, first there was Mahavishnu, then Garbadaksha, and this is in front of all the students, right on outside of the central portion of campus. And I didn't even know what a Purusha avatar was. You know, Garbadaksha Vishnu, Shiradaksha Vishnu. I thought, this is far out. But the point is that even though it was inconceivable, not understandable to me, the sound vibration, because Prabhupada said the sound vibration of a pure devotee has within it the dust particles, the saffron dust particles of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The sound vibration just like went right into my heart. Bhavanti Ridkarna Rasayana Kata Chajushana Dasu Abhavarga Bharmani. And even people didn't understand. Like Prabhupada would sometimes have devotees sit through his conversations in a different language, like Hindi. And Prabhupada said, just sit, it's purifying. Even though you don't understand, your heart understands. And so, it was just, and then that night, we got a chance to be with Prabhupada. We had this TV program, and then after that, we went to Prabhupada's room and private darshans with Prabhupada at about 11 or 12 o'clock at night, and Prabhupada was sitting in his gamsha, and he had golden skin, you know, really glowing. And it was just like an overwhelming. And Prabhupada actually gave initiation, not to me at that time, but he gave initiation to different devotees just sitting on his bed in his gamsha. And I remember there was one of my godbrothers, Bhagavad Das. Prabhupada gave him the beads and he reached out with his left hand. And Bhagavad Das reached out with his left hand and then Prabhupada said, right hand. And I think Bhagavad Das grabbed the beads anyway. Because he was thinking Prabhupada was going to take the beads back from him. You know, simple little things like that. It was just very sweet. I mean, that was my first experience with Srila Prabhupada. And then, of course, then we went to the airport to see Srila Prabhupada off. And, you know, other experiences, you know, personal experiences with Prabhupada and personal instructions from Prabhupada I got were interesting. One story I always tell about my interactions with Prabhupada. One time was with Prabhupada in Prabhupada's room in Mayapur. And Prabhupada would have this darshan every night. It's interesting, Prabhupada would end the darshan to send everybody to Sundararti. He wouldn't keep going on and on and on. He said, okay, everybody go to Arti. So I stayed. And I said to Prabhupada, I was talking about our preaching, because I was in charge of a temple in South America at that time, Caracas, Venezuela. And we distributed, 30,000 big Bhagavad Gitas in 1 month. In a city that, you know, tiny little city. And, you know, at that time it was big book distribution. Now in America there's this one devotee who distributes practically that much by himself. In this place called Krishna Life. Anyway, that's a different subject matter. So, I was talking to Prabhupada about our preaching, and I said, Prabhupada, we distributed 30,000 hardbound Bhagavad Gitas in Caracas, Venezuela, and we were describing how you did it. The devotees would go out on a bus, and they'd hand a book out to every single person on the bus that'd collect the money for them all. And they keep the books, and they do a whole case of books in each bus. And they keep the books stocked in different places around the city. Really amazing. South America, you can do all these sorts of things. I mean, they loved this so much in those days in South America that many of the buses had pictures from Prabhupada's books. They were done in, I guess, airbrushed on the bus. You know, really beautiful pictures. I remember following one bus that had a picture of Haridas Thakur and the prostitute on the back. I was saying, oh my God. You know, so anyway, so I told Prabhupada about our preaching, and Prabhupada, his eyes opened wide. You can see Prabhupada being so compassionate. He wanted these books going out, he wanted people to come to Krishna consciousness. His whole life was dedicated to that compassion. That was his very life and soul. And so Prabhupada's eyes opened wide, and he was so happy. And then I said to Prabhupada, I introduced him to our biggest book distributor who had done 10,000 of those books single-handedly in 1 month. And Prabhupada's eyes open wider. He says, he has the mercy of Krishna. And I was quite envious. Because I was a temple president, you know. What about me? I'm the big kahuna. You know, false ego. So, which masquerades as devotion often. So I was thinking like this, but Prabhupada, I organized it all, you know, I'm responsible. And Prabhupada could understand what I was thinking. He said, that's right, you all have the mercy of Krishna. And then Prabhupada had the final word. He said, just like the gopis, in one sense, they're the highest. So Prabhupada was saying, this devotee did all the work, you know, he's special mercy. So, and you know, many little circumstances like that, instances we had interacting with Prabhupada that were, you know, very inspirational. I never had the, let's say, the courage to really ask Prabhupada too many questions. I was scared. You know, it was always that awe-reverent mood I had with Prabhupada. Whereas other devotees, they were able to. Like Tamal Krishna Maharaj even argued with Prabhupada sometimes, and then Prabhupada had to send him to China. But the only thing I lament was that I didn't go to Vrindavan to be with Prabhupada at the end. Srila Prabhupada wanted all of his disciples to be with him at the end of his pastimes. But that information was not conveyed to us because the GBC at that time, they were concerned that temples would stop. You know, everything would stop. Prabhupada said when they asked, you know, how can we ask everyone to come because the temples will stop? He said, let everything stop. And we didn't know that. Had I known that, you know, I would have been there. But yeah, because Prabhupada really, really was attracting us by his love, devotion. You know, so that's the essence of Srila Prabhupada's life and compassion. So, anyway, that's little stories.
Mark,
Yeah.
any reflections on why Prabhupada said let everything stop?
Why? Because Prabhupada knew that it was his final lesson. He wanted the devotees to be with him and to render service and have that. Because anytime we were with Prabhupada, it was a very strong impression. You're talking about sanskaras, you know, impressions. You know, like I remember every single thing that happened when I was with Prabhupada. Every single, like it was yesterday. And, you know, a lot of other things happened I don't remember the details of throughout my whole Krishna consciousness. But Prabhupada's interaction. So this lesson, especially the final lesson, how to leave this world, was a very important lesson for us. And Prabhupada's determination, because Prabhupada understood that his example would be our inspiration, not just my inspiration, but should be all of our inspirations. And so that's why Prabhupada, you know, because that, and also because Prabhupada wanted it solidified that his teachings would be the central point of the Krishna consciousness movement. Because that's what holds us together. You know, Prabhupada saw that his godbrothers' movements or whatever, the Gaudiya Math, fractionalized, you know, became different factions, you know, fractionalized. So factionalized. And so Prabhupada didn't want that to happen. So it was more of Prabhupada's strategy. Prabhupada was an expert strategist too. But it's not that Prabhupada per se wanted the temples to stop. But during that time, it was so important that we would be with Prabhupada during those final moments. Is that right? And it was intense, you know, Prabhupada leaving, like the Bhagavatam describes. The disciples should cry and be ready. You know, I took very much to heart what Prabhupada said in the 4th canto of Bhagavatam, that when the spiritual master leaves, the disciples should be ready to leave with the spiritual master unless they're ready to fulfill the mission of the spiritual master. So to me, that was a key lesson, statement, guide in my life when Prabhupada left. That the mission of Prabhupada. And what is the mission of Prabhupada? I mean, the mission of Prabhupada is basically to help people, give people Krishna consciousness. You know, there's the movement, yes, that's part of the mission, or maybe a tool that can be used to fulfill the mission of Prabhupada. But the actual mission is to bring people to Krishna's lotus feet, to save people. So,
Can I say something? I think also like, when you know that your father is leaving,
yeah.
and then you're not there, you don't heal from that. When you miss the last days with him.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's something that's traumatic. You know, Prabhupada was everyone's father. So to not be, yeah, that's actually very important. Because especially with traditional culture like the Indian culture, I mean, your loyalty to your father is very much there. Of course, in the Western world, you know, whatever. Our parents, well, they're just something, people that gave birth to us, but you know. But in the culture that Prabhupada was brought up in, you know, polite, cultured, civilized society, the family is very important. Actually, I was just reading something where Prabhupada said to one devotee, "You don't know what a loving family is," said to some of the Western devotees. And you see how Prabhupada cared for his mother. He loved his mother, cared for his mother. Mother passed away, of course, when Prabhupada was young. But Prabhupada so much cared for his father, took care of his father. You know, nowadays people just put their father or mother in an old people's home. And that's it. And, you know, they wash their hands or take away the property of the parents and stick their parents in a garage, you know, carport. I've seen that happen. Even in Indian culture, I've seen that happen. One of my disciples had that happen to her parents from Indian culture. So, but Prabhupada, you know, really was our eternal father, or is our eternal father. And in one sense, he is the eternal grandfather, or you have a fatherly type of relationship. Everyone in the movement is supposed to have this fatherly type relationship with Prabhupada, regardless of whether you were initiated by Prabhupada or not initiated by Prabhupada. And so, you want to be with him. You want to serve him. You want to be with him. I mean, that personal connection is very important. You know, we talk about how Vani is more important than Vapu. Yes, philosophically that's true. But Vapu is also important, and it helps solidify the Vani later on. That's what I find. You can't really disconnect the two. Prabhupada's example, of course, is Vapu. But we hear about Prabhupada's example because Prabhupada's example is Bhagavad Gita in action. So, that's why it was important for us to do that. It was an intense time, yeah.
Just had a question, Gurudev. You talked about Srila Prabhupada's dedication. He was on the Jaladuta, he had 2 heart attacks, yet he kept on going. So I'm just wondering for us, like a smaller scale, when we have an idea or like an inspiration, we really feel a calling.
Yeah.
And we face some obstacles, and I'm not talking about smaller obstacles,
Yeah,
some
big
bigger
obstacles.
obstacles. How can we know whether that's just part of the journey, or it's actually potentially Krishna's sign to say, no, that's not the right way to do it. Go and do something else.
Interesting question. I think we need spiritual advice from people who are well balanced and advanced in Krishna consciousness. That's the association of devotees. Because, you know, sometimes we think, you know, maybe Krishna wants us to do it, and sometimes Krishna is thinking, hold on, buddy. And that's not what I want. You know, because, you know, you have this whole principle of prayasas, which means over endeavor. You know, so you don't want to over endeavor. But at the same time, if you're given, you know, someone like Prabhupada, someone in renowned sort of life, is given an order that's so specific then that order, I mean, I don't see a way that order becomes over and ever at that point. If it's really specific, really specific, go to the Western world, preach in English. That was very specific. I don't think there was any question that that Prabhupada couldn't do it or shouldn't do it. In fact, Prabhupada was always planning to fulfill that particular order of his guru. Even before he took sannyas, even when he was doing business for the purpose of getting money so he could go to the Western world. So, Prabhupada's determination. Of course, Prabhupada, at the same time, Prabhupada tells the story that he used to go back to the headquarters of the Scindia ship company, keep asking about their next ship back, but he never took the next ship back. Prabhupada was hedging his bets, so to speak. But Prabhupada stayed, in spite of, he did things that we would not consider to be austerities, like living with crazy people in New York. I've lived with a lot of crazy people since I joined the Hare Krishna movement. But for us, it's just like, hey, that's how we were brought up. But for Prabhupada, it was a great austerity to be in a situation like that. I just, I just admire it. I just think about it and say, wow. I admire him so much for that. And that keeps me going after all these years. And that's why I'm here, not because of the prasadam. I cook better anyway. My favorite cook is me. All right, yeah.
I have a funny story.
Yeah.
Saying how, for us, the austerities that Prabhupada underwent probably weren't austerities for us, like living with a crazy person. And I heard this Prabhupada memory a while ago where Prabhupada was saying, they were reminiscing about the very early days. And Prabhupada said, oh, yes, it was hell. And when Prabhupada said that, they were thinking, oh, it must be because, no place to stay, all of this. And Prabhupada said yes, and I think it was a man called Mr. Singh, and this is before Prabhupada has any disciples at all, and Mr. Singh would take Prabhupada for a drive in the car to the park sometime. And Prabhupada said, oh, it was hell. I had to sit in the front seat with the dog.
And for us, it's just like, dogs, so cute. Prabhupada also said London was hell. When Prabhupada was asked, do you believe in hell? Yes, London is hell. Yeah. So Prabhupada really, and just dealing with people like Mr. Nair and the Bombay situation. Such an austerity for Prabhupada. And Prabhupada was so happy in Vrindavan, just chanting. And he left. And that's compassion, and that's dedication to the order of his spirit. And it's like ahaitaki pratiyata, isn't it? No cause and unstoppable in every circumstance.
I have a little question, Guru Maharaj.
Yes.
It's a little one.
Little one.
So when I joined the movement, then I would always hear that from devotees that when Prabhupada was here, it was so good, and we had the best time of our lives, and this is what happened, all of that. And I would think, well, right, but that's in the past. I'm not with Prabhupada physically right now, but I'm still feeling all these things and still feeling the momentum of it. And so now, I don't know, 20, 30 years later in the movement, I'm thinking it's really nice having association of disciples of Prabhupada who've taken direct diksha. But at the same time, I'm thinking, what about like us and the future generations yet to come, like them, and then,
Right.
future generations, like what exactly is going to maintain and sustain and nourish? Because there won't be direct disciples. We have the books.
But you don't have to be directly initiated by Prabhupada.
That's true, that's true.
It's Prabhupada's example. You know, we have many heroes. I mean, I was mentioning to the devotees the other day that for me, I read the Mahabharata and the hero is not Krishna.
So it's the book.
Because Krishna is God. I become very inspired hearing about Arjuna. Arjuna is my hero. And I, at least in this lifetime, I don't know if I ever met him in any lifetime, but at least in this lifetime I've never met him. But I hear about all of his heroic qualities. It inspires me in my Krishna consciousness.
So I guess my concern is.
So you don't have to be physically with someone to have them inspire you. They could be someone who appeared 5,000 years ago.
Right, that's what my question was.
Yeah, and another point you made, that everything was all right when probably no. I mean, for those who were around, isn't it? We fought. I mean, I don't know what it was like in Australia, but in America, we were neophytes. Neophyte means new fighters. And because we were young, 22 years old, 21, 23, people took sannyas at 21. I'm not even going to talk about what happened after Prabhupada left. And we had gurus who were 22, 23 years old, as good as God. So, but when Prabhupada was there, I mean, talking about, all right, let's tell the story about Tamal Krishna Maharaj, how he would steal the devotees in America, they had the Radha, but he didn't steal directly, he had his people do it for him. So he would always say, I didn't say anything. He told you that the other day. Did I tell him to leave the temple? Oh, I would never tell him to leave the temple. So we had, the temple president would wake up one morning, all the brahmacharis would be gone. We're going to do Mangalarti. Nobody here but me and my wife, it was like that, the temple president. So. And then we had like us, we all complained to, I wasn't in North America, I was actually in South America at the time, but the North American temple presidents complained to Prabhupada, and then they had that whole exchange with Tamal Krishna Maharaj. There was interesting things that happening, but it's not that everything was just like, wow. But being with Prabhupada was always wow. But I tell you right now, hearing about Prabhupada, reading about Prabhupada, or hearing memories of the devotees, to me is just as much like wow. I don't feel less wowy.
Yeah, so that was my concern.
Yeah.
That, what's going to sustain, and it's the Vani that will carry through.
Well, not just the Vani, it's the Vapu, the remembrance of the Vapu. Still the Vapu, the remembrance of the Vapu. That, the heroic activities, Mama Virya Samvidaha, as Krishna says, hearing about Krishna's heroic activities. I mean, Krishna inspires us. Basically, he appeared or disappeared over 5,000 years ago. And we have his deity. But it's the activities of Krishna that are inspiring. Leela, the Prabhupada Leela is inspired. So, you can be just as inspired. I mean, I see some of the second and third generation devotees. I mean, just even talking about those devotees of this Krishna life in America, in Atlanta. They're like a rebel group, but that's all right. We like rebels. But they're distributing more books basically than anyone else. They're so enthusiastic in making so many devotees. Why are they inspired? They're inspired because of Prabhupada. They're distributing Prabhupada's books. So that inspires them. Prabhupada's Vani has Shakti to it. Prabhupada's Vapu, remembrance of Prabhupada's Vapu, has Shakti to it. I don't think there's been any lack. I mean, the movement's grown more after Prabhupada left. I don't know if I can say we have better organization. Like Prabhupada said, movement's going on only by Krishna's mercy. And I experience that even more nowadays. But how is it possible? Don't worry,
Thank you.
things will get better, but you won't be around forever. And I won't either. You know, one day you'll just remember this occasion. So, I think we should take prasad, right? That's
Can
right.
I just take this opportunity to say thank you very much everybody for coming, taking the time out on a weekday to come. And apologies to those who got very short notice to come to the program. Gurudev's basically here for like 24 hours, so everything was like super sped up this time. And I want to say a really a big thank you to Gurudev for coming, for taking the time and the trouble to come here, because
Trouble.
it's out whoop whoop, as we say in Australia. And
It wasn't any trouble.
yes, the road.
How'd you brought me? At least the Gold Coast.
And thank you very much for coming to, taking the trouble to come. Really, it's trouble because, I know what you go through austerity-wise. And Gurudev, like, he's so humble. He just keeps saying, oh.
I knew I was humble.
And then he goes, oh, the big plate, what will everybody think? And all of that. But to be.
That's not humility. That's just I want to maintain my prestige of being renounced.
So for those who
That's
don't.
just I'm concerned with reputation. It's nothing to do with it.
I just wanted to say that plate of prasadam that Gurudev's going to have is so austere that really none of us could probably have it. It's got no salt, no sugar, no oil, no dairy, and it's like oxalate free and all of that. So it's really austere. And anyway, a very big thank you, Gurudev. And finally, if you want to, there were going to be some other people here. So I had I had some books downstairs before you leave, when you're leaving, and they're these little cards, and they actually are QR codes with 4 books. So yes, and I can't take any credit for it. Devagora Prabhu, he designed it, and so there's lots of these cards if you wanted to just give them away for book distribution.
QR codes. Do they have to pay for the books?
No, it's all free.
Free books?
Yes, and he's got a whole box for you.
Oh,
Yes.
for me?
Yes, because I told him this morning I was going to put this out over here for everybody who came to the program, and he said, oh, I'll get a box for Maharaj. So,
What am I going to do with the box?
I don't know, you can take a little bit if you like to distribute.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
If
the
they,
cards.
if they scan the QR code, it has a link to Database.
Yeah, I know what the
Yeah.
QR. Oh, so they can read it
They can read the
online.
whole
Yeah.
book online.
If they don't want
Oh,
to
they
buy a
don't
book,
get they don't get a hard copy of the
Yeah.
book.
No.
Oh.
Yeah.
say if they don't have any money, you can still
Yeah,
give them a QR code and they
Yeah.
can.
Still distribute books.
I think in the future, just everything's going to be digital.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't, like you saw in class, I don't even know how to use a book. They offered me the Bhagavatam, and I said, how do you use that technology? It's like a tape recorder. What's that? I read everything online now. Okay?
Thank you very
Prashana,
much.
Maud Lois, Srila Prabhupada.